It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It is June 14th, 2024. SmackDown in the United States just went off the air, taped in Scotland earlier today. Expect the rating to be a little bit lower than usual because the episode was pretty much available online this afternoon. So I actually watched just about all of it earlier today. I rewatched a few of bits of it tonight. The QR code for the Bo Dallas-led faction is still pointing for this Monday. So it's going to be really interesting what goes down. Look, once we get past Clash at the Castle, we still have Money in the Bank. That is the additional bump in the road going to SummerSlam. Money in the Bank doesn't really feel as much of a bump in the road as Clash at the Castle because the two briefcases is the focus of what that event is. We may see a world championship defense on that show. I expect it. But primarily the focus is on those two briefcases, obviously. With Randy Orton returning tonight to SmackDown, we'll probably see something at Money in the Bank that'll have Randy Orton maybe even teaming up with Cody Rhodes. We may even see Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens taking on the Rogue Bloodline at Money in the Bank. That's a very, very strong possibility. And then everything points to Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at SummerSlam. But not a bad episode of SmackDown tonight. As far as match results go, Naomi basically defeating Chelsea Green. I am very, very happy that they're using Samantha Irvin's intro of Chelsea Green as Chelsea Green's entrance now. It was kind of funny that they decided to do it tonight. I'll tell you why. Samantha Irvin was there. Samantha Irvin did the introduction, so you heard Samantha Irvin as part of her intro, and then Samantha Irvin introduced her again. So I probably would have waited until the following week to do that tweaked intro, but I still like it. I mean, you remember it was not that long ago that WWE took it away. Remember, WWE took it away and had Samantha Irvin announcing Chelsea Green just in a normal tone, and people were like, why? Why would you do that? And then ultimately they had her doing it again. As far as Ricochet, look, everybody, including us, talked about Ricochet and what his possibly future will be. If you've noticed the last 24 to 36 hours, you got people talking on both sides of their mouth now because they're saying, WWE could have a few more dates for Ricochet because he's not leaving just yet. I think what Kevin and I said on Monday was spot on. I think Ricochet would have been on TV a little bit longer, but because of the way things were leaked out and inflated by some of the media, because they have to try to keep that relevancy, and as a result, it kind of cost a lot of Ricochet's TV time. Because right now WWE has done the injury angle that Ricochet will not be back for the foreseeable future because of what Braun Breaker did to him. Probably would have still been on TV. May have even had a three-way with Ricochet, Ilya Dragunov, and Braun Breaker down the line. So, look, Ricochet's future to be continued. Jeff Hardy. Now, I get it. Tonight is not a news show. It's about you guys asking questions, making comments, and we talk about them. But there are a few quick things I wanted to bring up. And don't forget, this Monday, Kevin and I will be live for the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show, 11:15 p.m. in our Discord channel. Here is a preview for Monday. Kevin and I will be talking about the true Forbidden Door. And no, it is not AEW versus CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling. If you have video, that to us is the Forbidden Door right now. Not easy to find a Dominic Mysterio picture that kind of like fit perfectly with the theme of this little thumbnail. But obviously there's a couple of things for us to talk about. I saw a super chat come in before we went live and asked this, and I want to open up with this, and we're going to talk a little bit more. And Jeff Hardy, I'll say this about Jeff Hardy before we move on. Right now, as we speak, TNA Against All Odds is live on pay-per-view. It is almost over the card. We have 3 matches left. I will give you match results in a few moments, but Matt Hardy is taking on Moose for the TNA World Championship in the main event. There is little rumblings. I know you have not read it in the newswire. You have not heard it on PW Insider, Fightful Observer. It's just rumblings. So by the time this show is over, Against All Odds would have already been over, so we probably will know the answer. But there's some rumblings that Jeff Hardy may actually appear at TNA Against All Odds tonight. His AEW career is over. Kevin and I talked about that a few weeks ago, that his contract was up this month. I think Fightful reported that today officially was his last day in AEW. And, Matt has not inked a new deal with AEW, and he's back, obviously, in TNA. Jeff Hardy, I think for AEW, it's got to be the package more than anything else. And I think that ship is come and gone. Interesting that this WWE is a little bit different than the WWE that Jeff Hardy walked out on not too long ago. Some interesting storyline feuds that could be used almost right at the get-go. AJ Styles tonight on SmackDown saying that Cody Rhodes quit the WWE. Cody Rhodes quit New Japan Pro Wrestling. Cody Rhodes quit Ring of Honor. And he even said, and I got to say something that I find very, very interesting. I don't know if you guys picked up on it today, especially that crowd in Scotland was hot tonight. Not on the level of France and Puerto Rico, but definitely worthy of that top 10, in recent crowds, the last bunch of years. But AJ Styles also said about Cody Rhodes that he also started a promotion that he also quit, talking about AEW. Now, the fans live knew exactly what AJ Styles was talking about because you could hear the tone of the reaction, that they were like, oh. Do you notice that whenever that is brought up in a promo against Cody Rhodes, you don't hear the crowd chanting AEW? You never hear it. Now, I'm not saying that they're chanting it because they're pro AEW, but when AJ Styles says you even quit a promotion that you started, you would think the fans just in reaction would chant AEW. Nothing. And that kind of took me by surprise tonight, because you would have just done it just to name drop it. I get it. OTSTribalQueen is right. Nobody cares. But when fans want to chant everything, and what is still like a really popular thing to do in 2024, people will chant anything. And you will get, a bunch of people to start a momentum. So the fact that that's not, especially when AEW, they're still chanting CM Punk. They're still chanting CM Punk for some of the guys, that were involved with the skirmish a year ago and, a year and a half ago and last year. They still chant CM Punk. Interesting. Whenever that's brought up, you never hear an AEW chant. By the way, we are going to comment in a moment about the ratings this week, because I kind of have an issue with it. But Kevin and I will get into it a little bit more on Monday, but I definitely want to point something out today. But as I said at the very beginning of the show, right before we went live, a couple of super shout-outs came in, and BTC 316 sent this one in. And I got a really interesting answer. DT, Where did you find the full-size photo of Donald Trump and Logan Paul? And who do you think Bo Dallas's faction attacks first on Raw? First, let me answer the Logan Paul, Donald Trump part of that. If you guys did not see the thumbnail for tonight's episode, that is the thumbnail. A little play on his energy drink. Instead of it being Prime Energy, I turned it into Crime Time, because of obviously, Trump being convicted recently on a lot of charges. As far as my comments on Trump's interview with Logan Paul, we'll get into that a little bit, but believe it or not, and you guys, if you search the entire net, you will not find a full 1920 by 1080 photo of Logan Paul and Donald Trump. You will find an iPhone-sized version, cut off on both sides. And the reason why you will not find this photo anywhere online, go search, you will not find it, is because, believe it or not, I photoshopped that. I actually photoshopped. I'm pretty good with Photoshop, especially since I've been using the net since its infancy, and I do a lot of artistic work. If you look at like that sailboat picture, for example, the first half of that sailboat that's cut off on every picture on the net, all I did was just duplicate the other side. And I just sized it down and I kind of like put the picture frame. If you actually look a little bit close to the left of the energy drink where you see the letter C, it's all brown. And on the right side, it's completely different. So it's not perfect. But yeah, I wanted a full 1920 by 1080 picture. And unfortunately, Logan Paul did not post one. So I had to make my own. So that is Photoshop work that I did. I think I did pretty good. Especially on the right, all the way over there with the little lighting and everything. I think it was a decent job. As far as Bo Dallas and that faction, I'm probably going to be wrong, and that's fine. In 2024, I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. I think of the WWE roster on Raw, and I think about this faction led by Bo Dallas. And I think to myself, this is not going to be a Nexus situation like when they destroyed John Cena. I don't think it's going to be that, but I think we're going to see some interruptions during the first hour or hour and 59 minutes of Raw. And then at the beginning of hour number 2 or the beginning of hour number 3, I think that's when they're going to come out. I think WWE would be absolutely stupid to wait until the very end of Raw, because the third hour, notoriously, the rating is not very good. And especially by 11 o'clock at night, there are far less people tuning in. So I think if you're going to have Bo Dallas and his faction debut, I think 10 o'clock hour, even 9 p.m. if you want to go that early. But my thinking is it might be the Judgment Day. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I think it could be the Judgment Day. If it's not the Judgment Day, I could see them just randomly laying out people. I think you'll just see people laid out randomly during Raw. Maybe R-Truth gets laid out. Maybe a member of Alpha Academy gets laid out. If Tozawa gets laid out, I could care less. But I just think if you're going to be a faction, especially debuting on Raw, and especially we're going to be going into Money in the Bank, you would think that they would have some type of presence at Money in the Bank. And collectively, there is no John Cena that they're gonna destroy like the Nexus. Like, I can't think of any one particular person. Michael says Sami Zayn. I don't know if Sami Zayn would be a good choice for the simple reason that, whatever happens at Clash at the Castle with Chad Gable, there's got to be carryover on Raw. If Otis helps Chad Gable win, whether intentionally or unintentionally, there's got to be some unfinished business still with Sami Zayn. If Sami Zayn enters Money in the Bank, if he loses this championship, I don't see Sami Zayn quickly being laid out. Plus, who is Sami Zayn going to feud with? Bo Dallas? It just doesn't come off the tongue so smoothly. So I kind of feel that if it's a group of people, you could kind of cherry pick who do you want interacting with who. The thing is, though, is that, Dominic Mysterio's busy with Liv Morgan and the Forbidden Door. JD McDonough, I don't think we would care if JD McDonough gets laid out. What do you do with Damian Priest after this? Gunther and Damian Priest is not until SummerSlam. We still have money in the bank. Damian Priest ain't got nobody. So that's why I kind of feel like maybe something with Damian Priest ends up happening. But look, we will know in a matter of a couple of days. So, we'll see what happens. By the way, for anybody that is part of our Patreon family, or if you're one of our channel members here on YouTube, you have until midnight tonight to enter the pair of predictions contest for Clash at the Castle. We're giving away 2 50 spots. So one on Patreon, one on for our channel members. So you have until midnight. This show will be over before midnight tonight. And at midnight, I will be putting up everybody's entries and closing the contest. So you have between now and midnight to enter. It only takes about a minute to enter. So if you want to get in on it, you got until midnight. When midnight comes and goes, that's the end of it. Before I move on with questions and comments, I don't like bringing politics on the shows anymore, unless I'm paid to. No, unless it really is necessary, or there's, big news going on, or if it's something that a lot of people want us to talk about. That was one of the things that annoyed people 5 years ago, we talked a lot of politics back then, and my views on the political world have changed dramatically. I'm not a fan of Trump anymore. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden at all. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I don't like the way both sides handled COVID. I don't like the political bullshit that they are doing, just not just globally, but locally. So I have pretty much decided that I'm just going to enjoy the rest of my life, spending time with my wife, my dog, my family, my friends, doing a little work, having a little bit of enjoyment, doing these shows, enjoying the hobbies and things that I love, and that's it. I don't care who's president. I don't care who's mayor. My vote is individually is not going to mean nothing. I voted on a lot of things over the years, and it ended up leading to nothing. So I just don't give a shit anymore. But I will say this. Donald Trump is extremely smart to do this interview with Logan Paul. Because Logan Paul, whether you like him, guys, or you don't, I am not a fan of Logan Paul. I appreciate his hustle. I appreciate how serious he takes professional wrestling. You got to admire that. I know when I mention future world champion, people get angry at that, but listen, I think it's happening. If Logan Paul still has the wrestling bug and turns it up an additional notch, that guy is going to be a WWE world champion in the future. I know traditionalists may not like it, but it's just the fact of life. That's happening. But Donald Trump is very, very smart to talk to social media influencers. And with someone like Logan Paul that has, 50 million followers, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Plus, whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, there's a lot of people out there that feel that, the criminal stuff is witch hunts. Me, like I said, I could care less. I'm not voting for either one this election. And some people may get mad at me for that, and that's totally cool. But very, very smart thing to do. Logan Paul has opened the invitation to Joe Biden. Let me tell you something. If Joe Biden is going to do any interview with a social media influencer, it's going to be somebody like iShowSpeed, or it's going to be somebody from a hip-hop radio station. And I'm not saying that because of a black or a white thing. I just feel that Republicans there's a certain stereotype about Republicans. what a Republican looks like. And Joe Biden is not going to do an interview with anybody that you look at them and you kind of feel like, oh, that's a Republican. Even though that person claims they're an independent, that's a Republican. So, but I tell you, man, I'm just like, Trump just turned 78. And Biden, I see all these videos where he just wanders off. And I'm like, God, this is what this country is. What are you supposed to do? But Trump, very, very smart to come across as a down to, to earth person. Listen, January 6th was a fucked up thing. No question about it. We had discussions when it happened. We're not going to rehash it here. But, do I think in my heart that Donald Trump hates America? No. Do I think he wants our government to implode? No. But I have this vibe that, okay, if the government is going to be fucked up, then fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, that's the attitude that comes across to me. And even if you feel that that might be the right attitude for a person or it's acceptable, like, look at the corruption. Fuck this government. As president, you still have to kind of like bite your tongue and not go that route, because you stir up every disturbed individual out there, and then you kind of normalize shit that should not be normalized. So that's why I stay away from politics. But very, very smart for Trump to do that interview with Logan Paul. Got a lot of, and Logan Paul, I mean, look, guy's got it under his belt now that he interviewed a former president. So that's my comments on the situation. I'm sure Kevin and I will have a little discussion on Monday. I'm curious how Kevin feels about it. We haven't talked about it. All right, before we go back to the floor with questions, let me give you a little update with TNA Against All Odds. Oh, look at this. Look at this. A lot of you were absolutely right. A lot of you were absolutely right. It ended up being none other than Tatum Paxley that took on Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts Championship. Listen, I like Tatum Paxley. She's definitely doing good in NXT. Jordynne Grace teased Natalya as the opponent. I don't know if I would have gone with either one, to be honest with you. At least it wasn't Dana Brooke. But Tatum Paxley, I don't know how I would have felt with that being, a TNA Knockouts World Championship match. But Jordynne Grace ended up taking on Tatum Paxley for those that are interested. So there's only one match left for tonight, and that's Moose taking on Matt Hardy. Again, we'll see if Jeff Hardy does show up or not, and we'll see if Moose retains. Do I see Broken Matt as world champion again? No. But if Jeff Hardy returns to TNA, I expect the Hardys to return as a tag team. I think they're definitely better utilized as a tag team. You do not want Jeff Hardy singles. Even though Jeff Hardy is gone, past the alcohol issues right now, and I stress right now, I still think Jeff Hardy is better utilized as a tag team partner at this stage of the game, not as a singles guy. But the match results from tonight: Sami Callihan over Jonathan Gresham. Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovic, they retain their Knockouts tag titles, defeating Allison Kay and Marty Bell. Steve Macklin and Mike Santana defeated the Rascals. PCO over Rich Swann. Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards retain their TNA tag titles, beating the Nemeth brothers, Dolph Ziggler, and his brother. Frankie Kazarian over Joe Henry. We'll mention Joe Henry in a second. Oh, God. If you follow my Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. Mustafa Ali retains his X Division title, beating Trent Seven. Ace Austin and Chris Bay defeated Eric Young and Josh Alexander. Jordynne Grace retains her Knockouts Championship, beating Tatum Paxley. So we'll give you the outcome of Moose and Matt Hardy in a few. By the way, this Tuesday for NXT, they're going to do a battle royal to determine the next number one contender for Trick Williams' championship. And as we talked about on Patreon Tuesday, and even I think Monday night with Kev, expect a few TNA guys to be in that match. The interesting thing was They were teasing, Cody Rhodes was teasing Raw and SmackDown guys, and you may actually see a Raw or SmackDown guy on there. But I think you're going to see TNA guys more than anything else. So the big buzz this week with ratings was this. And I made this thumbnail. I had to because I needed to utilize the neck brace once again. Keep in mind, there was no NBA to go up against AEW this week. There was no shootings. There was no mass tragedies, no political stuff, no natural disasters. TNA scored 681,000 viewers this week. AEW. Did I say TNA? AEW. TNA got 92,000 this week for those that are interested. Their demo is still awful. They barely broke 0.01. Let it sink in that AEW's demo is 22 times more than TNA, which is kind of mind-boggling. But AEW this week, Dynamite did 681 and NXT did 718. That's kind of mind-blowing. That's kind of mind-blowing, especially when you realize that AEW had no stiff competition, that people could make excuses for. There's always an excuse for a TV show. But I want to say two things, and it's actually going to criticize NXT and AEW. It's going to criticize both of them. First off, with AEW, I've been thinking about analogies about AEW, and expect me to bring it up again with Kev on Monday's show. But, 4 years ago, we talked about the perception that Tony Khan comes off as a petulant child that has too many games in his house, and he plays with a game for a little while and then puts it on the shelf and can't wait to go to Toys R Us to get the next game. And then 2 days later gets another game and his house is filled with toys and he hardly touches any of them. We were talking about that 4 years ago. We've also talked about the way he's utilized people. And I said, you could have a whole bunch of exotic cars at your house, but if you don't know how to drive stick, all you have is a bunch of beautiful cars and you don't know what to do with them. The best way I could describe AEW right now, an analogy that no one else has brought up. AEW right now is the New York Mets, and NXT is the Cleveland Guardians. And the Cleveland Guardians, their payroll, and I don't have notes in front of me, I'm just going based on memory. The Cleveland Guardians, the former Cleveland Indians, their payroll for this year is about $85 million. They're near the bottom. They're near the bottom of payroll, and yet they are in first place. The New York Mets, their payroll this year is $300 million, and they are next to last place in the National League East. So the Guardians, who have almost 1/4 the payroll of the Mets, is in first place, and the Mets are near the bottom with a $300 million payroll. What does that tell you? You could have your team filled with high-priced all-stars, with top athletes. And if you got shit management, even if they're nice people, even if they think they know what they're doing, even though everybody kisses their ass because they think they're going to get something out of it, it doesn't necessarily result in the win department. And that's exactly what AEW is. AEW is filled now with high-priced talent, and they think that they're on autopilot, that, hey, this person knows what they're doing. This person's a veteran. Just let that person do what they do best. What you don't realize is that when someone is a great actor in a movie, they're not ad-libbing during the movie. They're acting out what a director tells them to do. And unfortunately, AEW doesn't have great movie directors. So you could have the greatest actors around, and if you don't have great movie directors to have a script, you end up having that, what's that awful movie? What was it, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez? Was that the movie? I've never seen the movie, and if I just got that fucking right, I'm going to slam my head through a door later, because is that the movie that came out many years? I remember a movie coming out is it Jiggly? That is it? Gigi or Jiggly? Gigi? That I remember when that movie came out, and they were talking about the great actors and actresses, and it was one of the worst fucking movies around. And you sometimes have great cast and a horrible fucking movie. And no matter how hard they think they are doing the right thing, they're not. And that's pretty much what AEW is right now. That's their problem. They're the Mets with shit management. You know, it's not intentional that they're shit, but they are. Now, as far as NXT goes with this 718 rating, this is what I have a problem with also. The AEW haters out there that really want to stick it to AEW because NXT scored a higher rating this week, they were showing everybody this. Now, for those that don't have video, this is from Spoiler TV that will show you the ratings every day. That's one source any of you out there can go to if you want to get ratings. And they have NXT ranked number 1 this week. NXT was number 1 this week on Tuesday night in the 18 to 49 demo. And everybody is bragging to the fucking world that NXT was number 1 on basic cable this week. And I'm sorry, guys. I've been saying this since 97, when I started doing hotlines. And I will continue saying it in 2024. All right, you're not going to fucking tell me that a show, if you're looking on this list, a show like Jesse Waters Primetime that has 2,883,000 viewers, you're not going to tell me that that show, that's on the same exact time as NXT, that show scores worse when NXT only had 718, but that Jesse Waters show had almost 3 million viewers. There is absolutely no fucking way that if I had a wrestling promotion, you're going to say to me that I'd rather have 718,000 fans go to my show that are 18 to 49 than have 2,883,000 fans show up, and they're all different age groups. The only people that fucking number matters to is the network, the promotion, and the advertisers. Not me, not you, not Meltzer, not Cornette, not haters of AEW, haters of NXT. It should not mean anything to any of us. At the end of the day, 718,000 fans tuned in to see NXT. Just because the demo is number 1 this week, you're not going to say to me that is a better fucking rating in the eyes of fans than when they got 800,000 viewers. No fucking way. The only people that should matter is the business people. As fans, you're telling me that right now, let me ask you guys something right now. If NXT had 2 million fans and their demo was only 0.15 instead of 0.28, you're telling me that fans would start saying, oh, the 2 million viewers means nothing. They only have 400,000 in the 18 to 49. When you go back and you look at the Monday Night Wars, Raw, Nitro, who killed WCW, the biggest fucking money grab attempt by people from yesteryear. That's what's going on right now with who killed WCW. Kind of fucking amazing that I glanced through episode 2 of 3, and Thunder has no relevancy on this. Thunder is one of the biggest business reasons why shit started. They had to pay so much fucking money with additional travel and production and salaries and this and this and this. Again, there was no one individual. Wasn't Nash, wasn't Hogan, wasn't Russo, wasn't Bischoff. It's just these people are just running out of things to talk about. And this is what Vice does. And The Rock, $7 Productions, it's a business. It's a business. But you look at the Monday Night Wars. Where is it? Where is it? When you see 3.5 to 2.1, When you hear 4.8 million viewers, well, Raw got 8.1 million viewers for This Is Your Life, Charlie Brown, whatever the rating was. Have you heard anybody say, well, it was only 3.1 million in the demo? The only people that this should matter to is the business people. Do you know why it's a big deal today? Because people who support their product, whether you support WWE or you support AEW, you support NXT, that if the numbers are not doing very well, you have to try to find some way to spin it. That's what it is. When you have competition, you want to spin it any way possible that makes it seem bigger. Whenever you have to use the word but with the rating, there's a problem. Oh, NXT won this week, but AEW's demo was 1 point higher. NXT rating was 718, down from recent weeks, but it was number one for the night. You know what that tells me? 100,000 WWE fans chose not to watch NXT live on Tuesday. Yeah, but 35 more people that were 18 to 49 tuned in. When you start dissecting this, you realize how moronic it sounds. And one last thing, and then we'll start getting into more questions and we'll wrap it up. This is another thing. Not going to spend any time on this tonight. Now, I'm not trying to push it off to Monday, but this is definitely something Kevin and I need to have a serious discussion on. You know, I'm a fan of Dave Meltzer. I'll always appreciate what he did for me in the past with a couple of causes and everything. But trying to push this narrative that ever since Nick Khan was in power, that they're paying to get the Fast Nationals for AEW as if it's a nefarious thing. You don't like that your competition is getting, your viewership in advance? Do a better fucking number. WWE's not doing anything nefarious. If they're paying money to get the ratings of their competitor, if you have a great fucking number, what do you care? What do you care? If I have competition and people are looking closely to see how many downloads I got this week or what countries did this, if I'm doing a great fucking job, spend all the money you want. Good. How do you like it? And by the way, why are journalists going to WWE for AEW viewerships? Now, I posed that question last week. You have yet to get an answer from anybody that does that. Why are you going to WWE for AEW numbers? All right. Do we have an outcome for Moose and My Heart yet? Let's see. I expect Moose to retain, but I don't think they said, hey, Matt, come back and we'll give you the championship. This isn't the Dixie Carter days. The match is still going on. All right. The match is still going on. So maybe somebody could, you know what? Everybody who's in the chat, rather than me reloading pages, just let me know the outcome once it pops up. You don't have to super chat or anything like that. So, earlier we mentioned Joe Henry. I'm almost tempted to post screenshots because some people think that I'm full of shit. I don't care. I never lie. I'm not good at lying anymore. But I posted something on Twitter earlier today. And I know why this started happening, because a friend of mine that does a podcast went on their podcast last week, and because they know that, I kind of got this, weird appreciation for Joe Henry right now in TNA. And he says, flood DT with photos of Joe Henry. Everybody's posted the same photo, showing up on billboards and showing everywhere. So I open up my email and my DMs. I'm a little behind on my DMs this week. I know a few people DM'd me, and Monty and everybody else. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But I looked at some email, get some feedback from Monday from Patreon for tonight. And there's like 17 different emails like, DT, look at this. Somebody wrote, DT, use this on your show. Breaking news. Did you hear who died? And I open the email. Every time I open it up, it's this fucking picture. 17 emails so far. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but people are like, oh, did you? Because 20 years ago, when the Minority Report was getting popular and then it became the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show, I used to get spammed with porn. I had a MySpace page when Facebook came out, and I'm sure some of you tuning in remember the Facebook disaster. Every time we went live, people would flood the Facebook page with child porn. I'm not kidding, with crazy shit. And we would literally have to pause the show and literally take the page down. You know, it wasn't all CP, but illegal shit. Back then, you know, you had a very difficult time trying to stop it. That's one of the reasons why we stopped the Facebook page. But I would get emailed a lot of XXX shit. Oh, DT, you got to check out this major news story. And I click on it, and it's porn. So 20 years later, instead of getting emailed XXX stuff, I'm getting emailed this. Just pictures of him. So it's listen, I'm not mad about it. I think it's pretty funny. I'd rather have that surprise me or get trolled on my email with that than to get other stuff. So, all right. I think, listen, Joe Hendry he's getting a lot of momentum, but it's a weird momentum because a lot of people that are talking about him have not even seen a match, or they have not watched much of what he does. Because I've joked with a few people in the last 2 weeks, and I said, you know, like, what's your favorite match so far? Oh, they're all good. And whenever somebody says something like that, that's when you kind of know, like, either if it's somebody from today, that means you're not watching this stuff. If it's somebody from yesteryear, you might just be having a brain fart. But, you know, he's getting like a lot of crazy momentum, and it doesn't seem like it's because of his wrestling ability. Like, he did the singing recently, and that got over. A lot of social media stuff is getting over. I don't want to compare it to Zack Ryder with the Internet Championship, but I remember when Zack Ryder was getting so much momentum on the internet, on social media, and that kind of got his ass over a little bit more. It kind of gives me the vibe of that, and that's not a negative thing. It's just strange how it happens today. So, oh no, it's nothing like Elias. Elias didn't really have a social media footprint. I mean, we all talked about Elias. We all talked about Fandango. We all talked about some things that were getting wild momentum, but it wasn't the individuals themselves doing it. This guy is whoever, if he's got somebody working for him with like PR on social media, he should give them a raise, because everybody, not everybody, but a good chunk of people are talking about him that don't even watch him wrestle. You know, listen, I mentioned that TNA got 92,000 viewers this week. That sucks. With all of the buzz, not just Jordan Grace showing up at NXT. Mustafa Ali's been there for a while now. The Grizzled Young Veterans have been there. We've had Mace, Mansoor. We've had, you know, other people that used to be on the, Dolph Ziggler is fucking there. And they can't break 100,000 viewers. You know, somebody confronted me on Patreon about this, and I thought I had a decent answer, because I said on Monday, I think it's time that TNA gets off of Access. And this person said to me, DT, 2 years ago, everybody was telling you that they should leave Access, and you said no. Why are you suddenly saying it now? And my answer is this. When Tessa Blanchard was champion, and it might have just been coincidence at the time, when Tessa Blanchard was champion, a lot of those episodes of TNA, Impact Wrestling on Access, were twice the rating. They were over 200,000 viewers at times. Now they can't even break 100, and their demo is almost zero. Their 18 to 49 demo is almost zero. I'm not kidding. They have less than 10,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demo. I think 1 week recently they had 3,000 viewers. Just let that sink in for a minute. As bad as you may think Dynamite's number is, Dynamite still gets 300,000 in the 18 to 49. Let it sink in that Dynamite sometimes has 100 times more people. 100 times more people tuning in. 100 times more people tuning in the 18 to 49 than TNA. 100 times. Not double, not triple. TNA sometimes is 3,000. And AEW is 300,000. That's crazy. But why do I say they should leave Access now? Because over the last 2 years, Access has done squat to make TNA on Access more of a household name. They have done a shit job promoting TNA shows for Access TV. I, believe it or not, now, once in a blue moon, I see an advertisement for TNA. And they're like, oh, we finally deserve it. I'm like, you sound like fucking a Dana Brooke. Their commercials sound like Dana Brooke. It's my time. I've earned this. It's about time that I get. No. It's just like for 2 years, they have done a crap job with TNA on that network. And it just hasn't built any momentum whatsoever. And now, when you see that streaming media is much more popular and much more accepted now, even a couple of years ago, WWE's going to Netflix. You ain't channel surfing when you're watching WWE programming on Netflix. Unless Netflix has live TV like Spectrum and Fios and YouTube TV, and they have enough programming that you're going to change channels when there's a commercial break, you're going to have to leave the app and then log into Fios or log into YouTube TV or something else to see what else is on. You ain't going to be, it's just like even Peacock. You're watching WWE programming live on Peacock, even if there's a lull. If you're going to watch something else, you have to leave the app and log into another. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but by the time you exit the app and go into another app and you load that, and if you have to, God forbid, type in your ID and password again, now you're like, oh shit, I got to get back. The other match is starting. So streaming media now, that's the future. 10 years from now, streaming media is going to be the thing. So especially now that streaming media is widely accepted and is becoming the norm more and more, it's time for TNA to leave Access. It's time. Leave Access. I think it's definitely needed. So, Harry Hollycock, thank you, my friend, for the 5 spot. DT, do I have any early predictions for who wins Money in the Bank this year? This is not a cop-out answer. We don't know all the participants as of yet. We've had a lot of promos from people who say they want to win Money in the Bank, but they have to qualify for Money in the Bank. When Carmelo Hayes cuts a promo tonight, which was awful, and the crowd was not having it, he was not getting heel heat. He was getting, oh, this is not working heat. Even DIY, with all due respect, DIY got an awful reaction, in my opinion, tonight in Scotland. The only time they got a pop was when Johnny Gargano was teasing the footage from last week. Roll the footage, as if we didn't see the footage last week. Roll the footage. And Grayson Wall's like, no, don't roll the footage. Roll the footage. And if people are getting excited, yeah, roll the footage, as if we didn't see it already. But there's a lot of people proclaiming themselves to win Money in the Bank, but we don't know actually who is in Money in the Bank as of yet. On the women's side, I get this weird vibe that maybe Naomi wins it or Chelsea Green wins it. I could picture Chelsea Green walking around with that goddamn briefcase. Chelsea Green has to start getting a little bit of a winning streak. Chelsea Green is so good at what she does. It's a little old school. And let me say it like this. And this is nothing but love for Chelsea Green right now. It's old school 80s or 90s. And I know what you're going to say to me, DT women's wrestling was really not relevant in the 80s and 90s for the WWF. And you're right. Medusa, obviously amped it up a notch. Sherry was more of a manager. Elizabeth, we know with that. Jumping Bomb Angels, nobody care about unless you are 50 or over. But my point is this. Back in the day, if somebody was really good as an annoying heel, they would get their ass kicked almost every time. And they would lose almost every time and wouldn't get old. And you didn't feel like they were a jobber. You just want to see them get their ass kicked. Now, I'm not saying that we want to see Chelsea Green get her ass kicked. But Chelsea Green is so good at what she does. She gets laid out. She loses. But yet you don't feel that she's getting that she's a jobber. You will ultimately start saying, oh, Chelsea deserves her colors. Chelsea deserves her flowers, whatever it is. Chelsea deserves a championship. You'll get those people, and I kind of agree with it. But Chelsea Green is one of those few people that could be an instigating bitch, and she gets her ass kicked, or shit backfires, and she loses 90% of the time, and you still feel that she's a star. And that's a good thing with her. Thank you very much, Nay. Moose defeated Matt Hardy. I don't know if they went off the air as of yet. Let me know if Jeff Hardy showed up. Again, it was just a rumbling. His contract expired earlier today. I personally think they should have Jeff Hardy show up today. They should, because they need buzz to go into their Impact episodes, their TNA Impact episodes. Their ratings, it's kind of baffling to see those numbers not budge at all. Nothing at all. It's not even, you would think, in the world of where SmackDown does 2.2 million, AEW does 700,000, Raw does 1.7 million, 1.6 million. And TNA can't get 10,000 more fans to tune in on a Thursday night. 20,000 fans. It's just crazy to think that roster has had that much turnaround and much more exposure and still can't get even a small group of people to say, I'm going to check out TNA. I haven't checked it out in a while. It just, I cannot explain it. And what does that show you? As much as people like Scott D'Amore and others, they, with all due respect, how have they, other than a morale boost, how has Scott D'Amore helped TNA improve over the last 2 years? Live attendances have been better, absolutely. Ticket sales have been better, but their pay-per-view buy rates are still awful. I don't know what kind of buy rate they're going to get today. I'd be surprised if it's over 15,000. When you think about AEW's last pay-per-view doing about 130,000, and TNA only has 15,000, and that might be on the high end. Mark Hicks says Jeff. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Nice as Jeff Hardy is back. So a little rumbling that somebody told me ended up being true. So good. I like when people that I talk to that are involved in wrestling, end up giving us or get good information. That's a good thing. So good. I'm glad Jeff Hardy is back. Definitely needs to be aligned with Matt Hardy. So let me give you quick match results for SmackDown tonight. By the way, this past week, people were asking me, I think even somebody super chatted me about Pretty Deadly. I said, expect them back on WWE television either this week or next week. And they were shown in the crowd tonight. So once we get past Clash at the Castle, expect Pretty Deadly back in action. It's just right now they're focusing the storyline with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And now with Clash at the Castle come and gone, now they will turn it up a notch a little bit. The thing is that they weren't going to have Pretty Deadly feud with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. But if Austin Theory is going to turn babyface very, very soon, they could end up having some type of a schmaz with Pretty Deadly, although WWE insists on having DIY in this mix. I don't think it's really working all that well. So anyway, Naomi defeated Chelsea Green tonight. Bayley was with Naomi and Piper Niven, obviously, with Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green attempted to cheat. She put her feet on the ropes, but Bayley knocked him off. Naomi got the win. Later on, Piper Niven's in the back with Chelsea Green, and they lay out Bayley and Naomi to hype up tomorrow's premium live event. Baron Corbin, a little bit, still bizarre to see him on the main roster, kind of as a baby face. Apollo Crews, cut ties. Just cut ties, especially with what went down tonight. Baron Corbin's thanking Nick Aldis for a fresh start and everything. And we see what happened with Apollo Crews getting jumped by Legado. So tonight they set up a match with Apollo Crews and Santos Escobar. And Santos has Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza there, and has also Electro Lopez. And Apollo Crews is nobody. So Baron Corbin shows up to negate Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. Now, you would think, just based in storyline, Baron Corbin is now a babyface. Baron Corbin helps eliminate the interference by Carrillo and Garza. So it could be straight up one-on-one with Apollo Crews and Santos Escobar. And Corbin is at ringside while this is all going on, after neutralizing those two guys, sort of. And Apollo Crews still loses. If you follow the WWE template for the last 30 years, when someone shows up and negates members of a heel faction, and the heel is in the ring looking baffled, like, what's going on? Why are you ejecting them? Why is this person interfere? That heel usually either gets rolled up, or the heel will attempt a move and it'll backfire and the baby face ends up winning almost every freaking time. And Apollo Crews, probably somebody who needs a win now more than anybody else on SmackDown, gets help from Baron Corbin and still loses. DIY Grayson Waller effect, trying to stir shit up. Grayson Waller putting down Scotland, making fun of the plants. Austin Theory being a little bit of a heel. DIY show up and they're kind of like trying to stir up that Grayson Waller pulled Austin Theory last week in front of Waller. So Theory took the bullet against Gargano or Ciampa, and next thing you know, there's another brawl, and Austin Theory ends up biting the bullet again. So, Grayson Waller acting like he cares. Look, they're tag team champions. Of course, Grayson Waller's not using Austin Theory, but Grayson Waller protects himself before anybody else. Look, if I'm crossing the street and there's a car coming, and with my mom, with my wife, with my brother, my dog, my dad, and the car's coming, I'll pull them out of the way and maybe take the shot myself. If I'm walking with one of you motherfuckers on the street and there's a car coming and it's coming right at me, you best damn believe that the last person I'm going to give a shit about is you. I'm going to do everything I can to get my ass out of the way. So I don't know if I would pull you in front of the car, but obviously Grayson Waller, that instinct is, I ain't fucking taking that shit. So he puts Austin Theory in the midst of it. So, obviously Austin Theory is going to get a little bit too fed up and he's going to say, what's going on? It's not going to be like Otis and Chad Gable territory, but Austin Theory is going to get a little bit sick and tired of it. And Grayson Waller is going to have that confused look on his face, and it'll be interesting to see how the crowd reacts. We had that discussion last Sunday about Austin Theory. I don't know, if he could pull it off as of yet. Listen, I liked Austin Theory when he was a babyface in NXT, even though it was very weird with the Dexter Lumis storyline. When he got kidnapped from Dexter Lumis, then they found Austin Theory, and Austin Theory's like, oh, we were just playing video games. It was a little weird. That storyline was weird. Blair Davenport had words with Bayley and Naomi, and then obviously Piper and Chelsea show up and laid him out. Cody Rhodes comes out, cuts a promo, tremendously over by the Scottish fans. Do not believe the few loudmouths on social media. Cody Rhodes is still tremendously over with the WWE Universe. You know, it's not the individual matches, so to speak. It's the everyday activities. It's the little things he does on social media. It's the interactions that he has with the fans. It's the interaction that he has at the shows. He does something and other people talk about it. He shows up. He's very professional. He is obviously one of the biggest ambassadors for WWE as far as active wrestlers. Cody Rhodes is that guy. Everybody misses Roman Reigns, but Cody Rhodes is that guy. But great confrontation with AJ Styles tonight to set up tomorrow's match. AJ comes out with the OC, and, you know, they're talking about the I Quit match, and AJ reminding everyone that, Cody, you quit WWE, you quit New Japan, you quit Ring of Honor, and you even quit the promotion that you started up. So that's to set up the match. AJ Styles even gave Cody a little credit for not quitting in Hell in the Cell. Remember? With Seth Rollins. Oh, speaking of Seth Rollins, let's hold that thought. Street Profits attacked by the Bloodline in the back, who were supposed to have Kevin Owens' back tonight, but they were beat up so bad that they could not be in the corner of Kevin Owens tonight. Tiffany Stratton on commentary. Nia Jax makes quick work of Michin. It's kind of sad to see the Michin, after getting that one win, to kind of like set up why she's in the Women's North American Championship ladder match for NXT Battleground. And since that win, it's been loss. Nia Jax makes quick work of Michin. Tiffany Stratton, you know, kind of like, you know, claiming that she's got Nia's back last week. I think Tiffany Stratton can end up winning Money in the Bank. We said Naomi earlier. I could see Tiffany Stratton winning it. In fact, you know what? Wouldn't surprise me if Nia Jax wins the championship from Bayley and then Tiffany Stratton cashes in on Nia Jax. How's that for that little super shout out from earlier? Who sent me that earlier? That was Harry Hollyhock. Yeah. Hollyhock. How's that? Nia Jax wins from Bayley, and then Tiffany Stratton cashes in the same night. Tiffany Stratton becomes your women's champion, defeats Nia Jax. Nia Jax only has a I don't want to say 1 day reign, maybe like a 5-minute reign. Listen, it went over well with Drew McIntyre, even though Damian Priest has not had a good job. By the way, did you see Damian Priest get eaten up alive at that press conference in Scotland? He looked legitimately rattled. He called the Scottish fans babies. I'm around a bunch of babies. When you know your Damian Priest is rattled? When he says the same thing 5 times. When he says the same thing 5 times, I feel like I'm saying the same thing 5 times. Of course, Drew McIntyre is going to be the babyface in Scotland. But Damian Priest legitimately looked rattled today. And they got to turn on Damian Priest, man. They're hurting Damian Priest by sending these mixed messages. I think if Damian Priest loses the championship, which a lot of you do think is going to happen, I think maybe the Judgment Day should cost him. Or, you know, we do like what Kevin I said last week. You know, Damian Priest loses it. Where were you guys? You told us you didn't need us. Champ. I could see something like that happening, but Carmelo Hayes in the crowd, awful freaking promo on LA Knight. We saw footage of LA Knight at Logan Paul's Puerto Rican house, his house in Puerto Rico, and LA Knight's in his pool. And I don't know, like the days that the random cameraman is there, is a little bit ridiculous. Logan Paul shows up, hey, where's my security? Where's this? And there just happened to be a cameraman right in front of him. I mean, I let it go. After watching wrestling for so many years, but they should have done a little bit of a better job. Maybe Logan Paul could have acted like he was live streaming coming home. Guys, come on, let's go to the pool. Let's do this. Follow me here. And then LA Knight's there. What the hell's this? I kind of would have done something like that, but wasn't bad. I'm not going to criticize it. Nick Aldis bans the Tongas, as they're calling them, from ringside in the Solo Sikoa Kevin Owens match. And if they do show up during the match, they will be suspended. Solo Sikoa had a match with Kevin Owens. Paul Heyman is at ringside. The fans are chanting, we want Roman. And Paul Heyman looking very emotional, like I want Roman back too. The more I see Paul Heyman with the glassy red eyes, the more I say to myself, that motherfucker's going to stay with the Rogue Bloodline and turn on Roman Reigns. That Rogue Bloodline needs the wise man more than Roman Reigns does when he returns. We like it for nostalgia, just like we never wanted Paul Heyman to break away from Brock Lesnar. But man, Paul Heyman screws Roman when he returns. Oh, you're going to see all those cinemas, all those goofy memes, cinema. Martin Scorsese, cinema. Paul Heyman is going to screw Roman Reigns. Those red bloodshot eyes when he's acting like he's crying. I'm not saying this to be a dick. Paul Heyman's one of my favorites of all time. But he does like what actors do. They think of dead family members. They think of dead pets. They think of anything that gets them extremely sad so they can get crocodile tears. Trust me, there's a few things that I've talked about in recent years, and you see me legitimately crying on the show. If I start thinking about those subjects, I'll get a little choked up. The more I see Paul Heyman get that emotional, the more he's going to stick it to Roman. Roman, get that Desertin ready. Paul Heyman's going to nail you right in the butt. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn hyping up their match tomorrow. They're home in Scotland. And I'm surprised how many of you with the predictions contest that think Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are winning. Good for you, man. You're seeing something that I don't, even though I am a fan of both of them. So, Solo Sikoa defeats Kevin Owens. They're brawling outside the ring. Paul Heyman is at ringside, and they get back in the ring, and Kevin Owens goes to pin Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman grabs Solo Sikoa's foot, puts it on the ropes. So Kevin Owens leaves the ring. It's like, Paul, what the fuck you doing? And he was about to put his hands on Paul. Solo Sikoa with the spike. Pins Kevin Owens. Then Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa show up, and they start beating down Kevin Owens, and here comes Randy Orton's music. Reintroduce Randy Orton to SmackDown. He takes out the members of the Bloodline. We go off the air. And we'll see. We'll see if we get Cody, Randy, and Kevin Owens versus the Rogue Bloodline at Money in the Bank. I'm not saying it's a definite, but it's definitely something that could end up happening. All right. We've gone 69 minutes. One last thing I have to say before we finish this show with all of your questions and comments. I don't know if you all heard the interview that The Rock had with ESPN. I think it was today. I don't know if it was a print interview or was televised, but I read the whole transcript. And I'm hoping, listen, what I do is opine. It's an opinion show. It's a reaction show. It's a discussion show. We do get news. as you see, as weeks go by. We do break some things, but we do it here. We don't do it for the masses. But it's mostly discussion. When I say something you disagree with, there's no reason to get angry with me. If I am passionate or adamant about something, there's no reason to get angry with me, and vice versa, obviously. But I'm hoping some of you are now starting to see that Cody was always finishing the story at WrestleMania 40. The Rock did an interview with ESPN. The Rock giving props to Seth Rollins, talking about the match, cardio, and everything else. But The Rock, towards the end of the interview, says, we are on the 1 yard line, and we built up the greatest WrestleMania in history, WrestleMania 40, WrestleMania match. We are on the 1 yard line of the greatest WrestleMania match in history at WrestleMania 41. Some people think it's against Roman, and some people think it's against Cody. Nothing against Cody Rhodes. There ain't no fucking planet on this globe or in the solar system that is going to say to me that The Rock versus Cody Rhodes is a bigger match than The Rock versus Roman Reigns. When The Rock did this interview, take note, there is nothing talking about what The Rock would have been doing in the WWE right now or immediately after Mania if people believed that The Rock was going to take on Roman this year instead of next year. The Rock said, we have this match in our back pocket. We always knew we had this match in our back pocket. When you have a condom in your back pocket, does that mean that you open that condom and use it the first day you get it? No. If you have an extra $20 folded in your wallet, in your back pocket, does that mean that's the first money you pull out of your pocket? If you have a key in your back pocket in your wallet, are you going to go into your wallet to get that key, or are you going to use the keys on your keychain? When you have something in your back pocket, you know it is there if you absolutely need it. When you read this interview, I'm hoping people are now starting to realize that Roman Reigns versus The Rock was absolutely not needed for WrestleMania 40 because Cody was finishing his story. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk got fucked up because of CM Punk's injury. And if you read closely, The Rock even says in this interview that there was a 2-year storyline that we tinkered with. Do you think Cody not getting the WrestleMania title match and stepping aside and Rock winning it from Roman instead would be classified as tinkering? How's about flat out sexual assault, ripping to shreds, destroying, totally fucking up, messing up, screwing up, flushing down the toilet? That is not tinkering. If I have a photo and I want to make it a little more vibrant, I tinker with it. But if I turn around and take it and take a color photo and make it totally black and white, that's a little more than tinkering. Pay very close attention to The Rock's interview he did with ESPN. As time goes by, people who are legitimately entertained by wrestling and have the maturity to appreciate sometimes being worked, as time goes by, you will start realizing that The Rock was brought in to seriously enhance WrestleMania 40, not replace. They weren't removing items from the menu. They were enhancing the menu. And that was to set the stage for WrestleMania 41. The idea that Rock was coming in and getting all this stuff and getting the match, which is not even mentioned in this interview. As time goes by, you will realize more and more Cody was finishing this story. Period. The Rock was there to blur the lines. Anybody who is mature enough that realizes that that's what it was will say, hey, you know what? It was fucking great. But unfortunately, and Kev even admits it, unfortunately in 2024, there is this weird denial that people get angry if they're wrong. Angry if they're wrong. I can't tell you how many people were literally sending me emails and DMs telling me off. DT, stop the fucking insistence that Cody was finishing the story all along. The Rock came in there and this and that. Like, good for you if you're that passionate about it. But take a step back and realize these are entertainers. You look at the overall scope of things. This was a 2-year story also. They were not sabotaging Cody's 2-year story. They were creating another 2-year story. Roman Reigns versus The Rock was brought up for WrestleMania 39. But obviously things did not happen the way they were supposed to. So they make people believe that The Rock wanted that championship against Roman for WrestleMania 40 and totally destroy Cody's story. And by taking away Cody, makes the fans want Cody even more. Goofy LaGreca, let's go to New York City and have a rally. We want Cody. We want Cody. Something that was manufactured by WWE. They took Cody away. You want it even more. Brought up my dog, for example. If I get the nicest biscuit that my dog loves, that she would orgasm over, she can't, she's been neutered. But if I put it in front of her face and she will eat it, no matter what, even if she's on a deathbed, she would eat it. And I pull that away. Hey, this is a Cody burger. Yeah. And I pull it away. The more I pull it away, the more she wants it. That's what that was. WWE took one 2-year storyline, created another 2-year storyline. And that will culminate at WrestleMania 41 with The Rock versus Roman Reigns. End of story. Douche says, DT, fucking hate you. Not really, you're awesome. Listen, I'm not saying I'm 100% right. But again, you could bring up semantics. Kev and I talk to people that work in the WWE that actually promotional merchandise was made up for Roman and Cody like 4 months before. Like, you're not going to start sending this stuff for production for all these sports outlets and this and that. And then suddenly The Rock comes in and oh my God, The Rock became available. No, The Rock became available. Let's give him the rights to his name. Let's give him this. Let's give him $20 million. Put him on the board of directors. Let's blow him while we're at it. And let's give him a title. But here's this full-time Cody Rhodes that you've been building up as the cornerstone of the WWE, the professional role model ambassador. And he's telling everywhere he goes, he tells Georgia and everywhere else, I can't let you down this year. Imagine taking that story of Dusty, getting that special about Cody and Dusty and everything else, and making us all revisit Dusty Rhodes from 1979, 77, 78, 81. And everybody and their mother that never ever saw Dusty Rhodes in their life other than polka dots and promos. And we're supposed to now feel that Cody is Dusty. Do it for your dad. Your dad is looking down. And The Rock comes in and fuck you, Dusty. Fuck you, Cody. I want that belt, and then I'm going to give it up and go to MMA and film a movie. as time goes by, people will realize Cody was finishing the story all along. You got podcasters out there that will have that come to Jesus moment, and some of them will admit, wow, they fucking totally had us. And you know what? That's a good thing. And you'll have some people that will insist that they were right. You're not going to tell me that. Enjoy. All right. Okay. How long we've gone so far? We've gone 80 minutes. We'll finish up in a few. We got to be done before midnight, obviously. I got to get these contests up. By the way, 2 p.m. Eastern is when Clash at the Castle starts. They're doing a 2-hour pre-show. I don't know why, but, look, if the Bloodline was taking on the Bloodline or Roman was back and you want to do a 2-hour pre-show, okay, I don't know why they're doing a 2-hour pre-show for tomorrow, but they are. Okay. Yeet Hater. Thank you, Yeet. I hope everyone enjoys this Yeet-free premium live event. DT, besides TNA, do I think WWE could have a working relationship with NWA? I don't know if you saw the footage earlier of Drew McIntyre meeting with Billy Corgan. It's interesting that Billy Corgan was in Scotland. I don't know if he was just performing there, whatever it is, but pretty interesting. I don't think Billy Corgan would travel all the way to Scotland for WWE business. I personally think WWE could have a working relationship with NWA. Listen, if there's anything to learn from the TNA relationship the last 2 weeks, if there's anything to learn by it, is that WWE has not lost one viewer. TNA, unfortunately, has not gained one viewer. As time goes by, WWE fans may start enjoying TNA's programming a little bit more, however they choose to ingest it. My point is that I think the reason why Vince was so against working with other companies is because how do I benefit? If I'm a podcast and I get 100,000 viewers, why should I commingle with a podcast that only does 1,000? What do I benefit from it? Other than maybe having fun content that might be even a little bit better, what do I benefit from it? I think that's the Vince McMahon mentality all this time. Pro wrestling is WWE and nothing else. Everyone else is the enemy. So the fact that WWE, and I don't even think it's just Triple H. I think it's TKO Group Holdings. It's business. It's not personal anymore. They don't have a pro wrestling background. So in Endeavor, TKO Group Holdings' eyes, if they could better utilize wrestlers that are not being used all that much and have them do a little work in NWA or do a little work in TNA, why not? At the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. It's not about, we see this big, bright future for this wrestler. We don't really need to use them all that much right now. No, with TKO Group Holdings, it's strictly business. So if you can have wrestlers working a TNA show rather than sitting and catering, have any of you started to get this vibe that TKO Group Holdings is not one of these companies that's going to have 10, 20 wrestlers sitting catering every week? That everybody's going to have to do something? And if not, you will be let go? I think that's kind of the vibe that we're getting right now. I don't think this is all just Triple H. Triple H will get the credit for it because Triple H is the person doing the creative side of things. But I think at the end of the day, this is a TKO Group Holdings Endeavor decision more than anything else. I think Triple H loves the idea. I think they want their wrestlers working. If you come to work and I don't have anything for you today, you're going to do something. You're not just going to sit and watch TV or eat and catering all day. You're going to do something. So we don't have nothing for you right now. Okay, you do this, go here, or They may even make it optional for some people. Hey, who wants to go to NXT the next 2 weeks? Hey, who wants a little bit of extra work? Who wants this? Who wants that? And I think that's what's happening. So, yes, I definitely think we could very well see a little bit with NWA. I don't think the involvement would be that deep, but I could see it. And the TNA relationship, back in January, and I appreciate all of you out there that remember it. Back in January, we had this conversation about WWE and TNA, and I said they should have a relationship like the WWF had with ECW in the late 90s, 98, 99. At that time, WWE was putting some money in ECW's product to keep it afloat. And in the process, they were bringing some people to ECW to help season and reinvent themselves and, just find their way. And then, they ended up bringing them back to the main roster. And in some cases, some people's contracts were, done and they went to the WWE anyway. So I think TNA definitely benefits from it. It's free advertising for TNA. It's free advertising. They got the Knockouts champion in NXT. Nothing against Tatum Paxley, but NXT got the Knockouts champion. And TNA got Tatum Paxley. That's how I look at it. I think it could happen. I definitely do. Yeet Hater. Oh, okay. Send me a second one. Thank you, Yeet. Do I still think WWE is going to have Damian Priest beat Drew in Scotland? I just don't see Drew coming up short again. When we did predictions on Monday, I said that Damian Priest is keeping his championship. I would love for Drew McIntyre to become world champion now. It would be fascinating if Drew McIntyre were to defend the World Heavyweight Championship against CM Punk at SummerSlam. I am starting to revisit my prediction of Damian Priest defeating Drew McIntyre, and I'm going to tweak it just a little bit. If Drew McIntyre wins in Scotland, I think it's by disqualification. I know. It is going to be a cheap way out, but this is the WWE, and champions do win by disqualification once in a while. Challengers do win by disqualification once in a while. I would not be surprised if Drew McIntyre wins at Clash at the Castle, but by disqualification. Maybe Carlito shows up, gets involved, nails Drew McIntyre, or tries to distract Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest gets DQ'd. Maybe that pisses off Damian Priest. That's not how he wanted to win. Or CM Punk could show up, lay out Drew McIntyre, or he distracts Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre goes after CM Punk, and somehow there's a disqualification. I think that could very well happen too. So I still don't think Drew is going to win the championship, but I could see Drew winning by DQ. So that's where I'm kind of like revisiting it. Cappy the Great. Thank you, my friend. $20 super sticker. Much love, my friend. Much appreciated. Thank you. Very, very kind of you. Appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know. What do you guys all think? Could we see Drew win by DQ? I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but Drew comes out of, look, when you look at the record book, you look back at history, Drew won in Scotland, but he won by DQ. We will see. We will see. Jay Carlos, thank you for the 20 spot, my friend. DT, much love and respect to you, my friend. Thank you for making this content. Believe me, it's a huge escape for me. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Carlos. It is an escape for me also. It is. It's funny. On Tuesday, I revealed to our Patreon family that I was going to put a poll up here on YouTube. Do you want to see Wednesday Night Down on my back cover AEW and NXT again? And I decided not to put the poll up yet. I have a feeling that it'll be majority yes, but The reason why I didn't put it up yet is because I'm not feeling Forbidden Door. I'm not interested in CMLL guys. New Japan is just not for me. You know, it's nothing against New Japan or CMLL, just not into it. You know, I was seeing people randomly show up and attack AEW guys or issue open challenges and everything. It's like, we know that half these people are not going to be seen again for 9 months. It's like, you know, I'm just not into it. But my point is, after Forbidden Door, I think I'm going to go back to covering Wednesdays again because I enjoy wrestling as an escape. I like watching NXT. I like watching AEW at times. You know, I don't like the idea of, you know, matches being so driven by match quality instead of storyline. You know, there's got to be a better balance, and there's a lot of things that turn me off about the product, but wrestling is an escape for me. Doing these shows also is an escape for me. You know, there's a lot of stressful days, health stuff, family stuff. No one's getting any younger. You know, a lot of pressure, a lot of bills, a lot of, you know, just the world we live in. So the fact that we, and I'm not saying this just to be like politically correct, but the fact that we could all just get together, have some casual convo about wrestling. You know, I like joking about Tony Khan. I like joking about a lot of things, but I don't want to be one of those guys that every day or every other day there's a clip up bashing Meltzer or bashing Tony Khan or why WCW failed. You know, it gets old very, very quickly. And this WCW stuff, you know, I lived through it and I watched it. I have friends working there too. I wasn't very close with them at the time. I think the person I was probably closest with was Bam Bam, which was strange in itself. But the thing is, you know, we lived through it. We remember March 2601. We remember everything that led up to it. And afterwards, we remember the AOL Time Warner stuff. We remember about how much money they lost and how much was invested in Thunder and, you know, all the other stuff. Yeah, I hear Bret Hart complaining about everything in his world. And I keep saying to myself, how much the creative control did Bret Hart have? You know, like I think about Wrestling with Shadows. I think about why he went to WCW. I think about all the other stuff that went down. You know, Jumping the Shark was way before Vince Russo ever got there. When Eric Bischoff was in the middle of the ring with the motorcycle, with the crown, and he's like, it's good to be king. That's the moment for me where WCW started Jumping the Shark. That was long before Russo. But now it's like, all right, it's 2024. We're running out of things to talk about. It's getting kind of old to keep making fun of Meltzer and AEW and Tony Khan. Like, what else could we talk about? Oh, I get it. Let's revisit WCW and now you got wrestlers. I killed WCW. I didn't kill WCW. He killed WCW. She killed WCW. They killed that. Do you know, out of everybody out there, and I mean this, from the podcasts that I like, from the people that are just out there stealing money, Jim Ross had the best take of them all. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. He was on with Conrad this week. Glad that JR is feeling better. Jim Ross had the greatest take about why WCW went out of business. And no one individually killed WCW. This was a slow death. You know what WCW was? WCW is someone who got prostate cancer. And unfortunately, that prostate cancer started in around 1998, and it was elevated. And it was a little bit concerning, but it was elevated. And then in 1999, it got a little bit worse, and it wasn't treated. And by 2000, suddenly that that level was a 5.6. And by then, you were like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Let me get it's like Andy Kaufman. You know, it's like, remember when Andy Cappy went to some blah, blah, blah country thinking he was going to get some voodoo doctor that was going to heal him? That's what WCW with Vince Russo. Much as I love Vince Russo, but that's what WCW did. It's like when Andy Kaufman had cancer and went to a different country. He thought that there was this was the cure. And he laid on the bed and had a voodoo guy that pretended like he went into Andy Kaufman's stomach and was going to pull the cancer out. And Andy Kaufman looks down and the fucking voodoo doctor puts his hand inside a bucket with blood and organs and guts. And Andy Kaufman was like, man, I just got fucking ripped off. And what's worse about it is I'm going to die. And that's what happened to WCW. WCW had cancer for a bunch of years. And unfortunately, at some point, it gets terminal like that. And that's what happened. AOL Time Warner came in and said, you know what? No fucking medical treatment. No fucking rebuilding. No fucking chemo. Just pull the plug. Do a Dr. Kevorkian. That's what happened to WCW. $7. This was a way to make money. This was a way for Vice to have something to talk about. And every fucking person that was involved in the Monday Night Wars that does a podcast is like, oh, look, we got fresh material to talk about. That's what this is. That's why WCW went out of business. You don't need no wrestler to say, I was there. They were not. Dude, you do not have any right to say it. I lived through it. I worked there. I was a bullshit. Bullshit. These are people just trying to figure out a way to stay relevant in 2024. So it's an escape. Thank you, Carlos. You know, I don't think they'll ever do one Who Killed ECW. I mean, that one is so much more easier to, it was just mismanagement, bills. You know, I loved how Paul Heyman said we were a small company and became too big. That's perfect. ECW was a small company that got too big and couldn't handle that load. That's what happened. It's kind of like having a car that's meant for a 4-cylinder engine. And you say, oh, you know what? I want to boost up my car a little bit. Let me put a fucking turbocharged 12-cylinder engine in there. And ECW in 1997, 1998 started taking off a little bit. And the car that could only handle a 4-cylinder engine had an 8-cylinder in there. And you might be able to ride for a little while. And then after a while, and that's what happened to ECW. You need no $7 Productions for that. Julius Tillery. What's up, Julius? Hey, DT, I'm 26, just now seeing Goodfellas. Great film. You know, June 14th, 1970. Wait, no, June 12th, 1970. Very important day in Goodfellas history. We celebrated the anniversary 2 days ago. Google it if anybody wants to go check it out. That is legitimately the real date that Billy Batts was killed. June 12th, 1970. And the diner is actually only about 20 minutes where I live. Great film. What was the reaction from the old school New York Italian community back in 1990? Julius, this is the God honest truth. I grew up in Middle Village. My dad bought a supermarket in Howard Beach in 1982. Howard Beach is the home for John Gotti, God rest his soul, and everybody else. I know some people like, how could you say that? So I worked for my dad in 1982 as a kid. I ended up leaving and I went back to work for him in the 80s after, you know, I didn't go to college, and I worked in New York City for a few months and I quit there and I ended up working in my dad's deli. Around 1988 is when I started working in Howard Beach. So in 1988, it was still Godfather, you know, Godfather 2. Godfather 2 came out, I think, in like 1974 or something like that, but it was still a movie that everybody talked about. Plus, you had a lot of mobsters at that time, and this was John Gotti first starting to be on the rise. You had Paul Castellano, you had the Gambino crime family, everything like that. And then Goodfellas came around. Goodfellas came around in 1990, and I could honestly tell you the Italian community here loved it. It's kind of almost like the whole, it's like an anthem. It's like, if you have an anthem for hip hop music, if there's that one song that just, that movie was it. And I've told this story so many times over the years, and I'm not going to tell it a long one today. Some people get angry. I'm revisiting it. But one of the earliest memories I have with the movie Goodfellas, and you could Google it if I'm lying, you'll find this old Howard Beach places online that talk about the history. In the early 90s in Howard Beach, there was a restaurant called Butterfingers. And, they would let people in, with fake ID, and I had fake ID at the time. I had not become 21 as of yet. I was close to it, but I used to go there in the late 80s, but early 90s is when it really blew up. And Butterfingers was an Italian restaurant, and at around 11 o'clock at night, they would pull the tables, move them aside, and they would open up a dance floor. And the restaurant would stop cooking regular meals. They would do finger foods, but it became a nightclub from 11 p.m. until 2 a.m. So me and my friend Joey, that, I was very, very close to, we would go to Butterfingers every Friday night or every Saturday night, every week. And we would go there for dinner, and then we would stay at the club. So there was one time, a lot of you know the story, we picked up these two Jewish girls, and one of them was missing a toe. And I fooled around with her anyway because she worked for Sergio Tacchini, and we got free Sergio Tacchini jackets out of it. A lot of you know that story. But what does this have to do with Goodfellas? So many people would imitate scenes from Goodfellas. You would see people in the neighborhood that would try to talk like Ray Liotta or Robert De Niro or Joe Pesci. I remember one time, no bullshit, there was a guy on a payphone at the Hallmark store that still exists where I work in Howard Beach. And the guy was outside. You remember the scene in Goodfellas? I don't want to break anything here. What could I use? I'll use this paper towel because that won't hurt. Remember when Robert De Niro was in the phone booth and Joe Pesci got whacked and he first found out about it? And he's like, motherfucker, fucker. They whacked him. There was a guy in a payphone arguing with somebody on the phone. And as we're walking by, you hear this person go, motherfucker. And he was he was actually doing this scene from Goodfellas. When Robert De Niro was lighting a cigarette, when they were going to whack Maury, when they were playing poker, when they started playing that song, Sunshine of Your Life, I think it is. Dun, 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 dun. And you see Robert De Niro, he's at the bar, and the music starts playing, and he's looking at Maury, and he smokes a cigarette. He does it like this. He goes, like he puts his mouth, like as if he's going to give oral sex. He goes like this. He goes, we went to this Butterfingers, and we looked at like the bar area, and there was a guy literally sitting there with his cigarette, and he's looking around, and he's doing exactly like Robert D. He lights up the cigarette, and he's like, and people would mimic scenes from Goodfellas. Me and my friends all the time, we're going to go get the papers, Tommy two-time. We used to joke around and we would say things twice just to be an asshole. Hey, go fuck yourself. So people loved that movie. And the funny thing about it is when John Travolta did the movie Gotti a couple of years ago, I told this on the shows at that time, I swear on my family, I'll never do another show again if I'm lying. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood because, I have my office here since 98, and I've been living here for a very long time, since 2000 actually. And the thing is that when John Travolta came to Howard Beach and was looking around and meeting with people and looking at the neighborhood and talking to family of John Gotti and everything, every Italian guy that was above the age of 70 that either was a gangster or wannabe gangster or knew people who were gangsters, every time somebody heard that John Travolta was in the neighborhood, this is what they would do. They'd go, they would spit on the ground. This motherfucker's doing Gotti. They hate John Travolta. This isn't the John Travolta from Saturday Night Fevers. This is John Travolta fucking whack job. People hated it. Even when I think Armando Estrada, Amanasante, is that his name? I think he played Gotti maybe like 20 years ago. And even at that time, people weren't very, very keen on it. But they loved Goodfellas. They loved Goodfellas. Everybody loved Goodfellas. It's my favorite movie of all time. I know every scene from it. My God. Shit. I had somewhere, I think it's in the other room. You know the picture that Joe Pesci's mother painted with the guy with the dog, and he's looking this way? I actually had it here up until about a week ago. I put it in the other room because the picture frame broke. I don't have it over here right now. There's something Goodfellas in this room somewhere, believe me. But yeah, no, Italians loved it. Loved it. Thank you, Julius. What happened to Dream 101? What happened to Dream 101? I see people saying condolences to Dream 101. Oh, I see it. You had to put your dog down. Man, I'm sorry, Dream. You could be an asshole in this show, and I say that jokingly. I'm just trying to make you laugh. I feel you, man. I had to do that about 11, 12 years ago. Still breaks my heart. Every day I see my dog's urn. It's right by my dresser. Some of you have seen me record from my bedroom, and you see him in the background. My wife lost 2 dogs this year. One of them died in our house, and it was the most awful thing. You know, I vowed I would never get another dog, and we got Bella now. And then next Thursday, we're getting another dog. We're calling him Bruno. So we have Bella and we have Bruno. So I'll show everybody pictures next week. But, you know, my thoughts are with you. You know, I don't want to get, you know, really soft here because I don't want to bring anybody down. But, you know, this is my advice. I say to him, I say to each and every one of you out there, up until maybe a year or 2 ago, I could never talk about my dog. Even last year, I know there was a point where I was broken up on this show. I realize now if my dog even would have survived, he would be 25. My dog still would have been gone by now. The problem that we see, and I don't think I have any pictures. Oh yeah, this is Bella. This is who we have now. I mean, she looks much different now. She got so much bigger. But the thing with Bella is, you know, we look at them almost like stuffed animals. I mean, this is Bella, like very, very groomed. She looks like a toy. And the thing is, they turn 11, 12, 13 years old, and they may still look like the cutest little things around. But unfortunately, dogs especially, they don't live that long. You know, my brother had a French bulldog, whatever it is, and he died at 7 years old in January of this year. You know, it's just, unfortunately, when we have dogs or even cats, they don't live very long. And, you know, you get so used to having them around, and then next thing you know, 10 years goes by. You're like, holy shit, my dog's 10? And then you start thinking to yourself, wow, you know, is my dog my wife, out of the 3 Yorkies that she has, she's got 1 left, and he just turned 14, I think, last week. So every time she sees him, because he stays by her parents' house, she leaves and she's like, this is to be the last time I'm going to see him. Because you get to that age, you start thinking, oh my God, you know, unfortunately, that comes with the territory. That's why when I put my dog down 11, 12 years ago, I said I would never get another dog again. Because I didn't want to go through that pain. That pain was awful. But, you know, we got Bella. And obviously, 11, 12 years later, I changed my mind. But, you know, one day, we're going to have to go through that again. Something I definitely don't want to think about. So, my thoughts are with you, Dream. My thoughts are with you. Dream says, rest in peace, my sweet dog who died in his bed this week. You want to know something? This is not going to make you feel better. But if your dog went to sleep and that was it, can't get any better than that. I know that sounds awful, but I had to put my dog down. And it's the most painful decision I've ever had to do for anything in my life so far. my wife's dog collapsed in front of us on January 7th of this year. And that was awful because we raced to the animal hospital. It was pouring rain out. We're pretty convinced that she passed away in the car as we were going there. Never saw an animal die in front of us before in my lifetime. Her other dog, her brother put him down a couple of months ago. So, like for me, like people say to me, DT, how do you want to die? I want to go to sleep and never wake up. I don't want to get a heart attack or get a stroke and I'm laying on the floor like this and then somebody's like, hey, let me go get help. And I'm gonna be looking at people and be like, this sucks. Like, I just want to go to sleep and never wake up. Like some people like, oh, I want to fall off a cliff. I want to drown. I want to get eaten alive. I'm like, good for you. But me, I just want to go to sleep, never wake up. So my thoughts are with you, Dream. My thoughts are with you. All right. Let's continue with some topics. Harry, as I said earlier, I'm now going with Tiffany Stratton to win Money in the Bank on the women's side. Cash in on Nia Jax and do to Nia Jax what Damian Priest did to Drew McIntyre. On the men's side, I don't know yet. We don't know who qualified. I want to see all the people who qualify, and then I'll give you a decision. And I'm only going through yours because we talked about it before. Athletic Gamer. Thank you, my friend. But Logan Paul sucks. Hate him after the suicide Forest stuff. And I suffer from those thoughts. And he still does messed up stuff. He has not changed. Why is he here as long as it's not the R word, which rhymes with gape or murder, right? I'm not a fan of Logan Paul's. The guy, hey, listen, any of you go on legacy.com, if you ever go on YouTube, legacy.com is a YouTube channel. And I do watch it every week, and it is a little sad, but, they review all the, people, I guess, influential people or people who matter that die. And that's how I learned that Jerry West, if anybody knows NBA, Jerry West died 2 days ago. It's how some other people I got wind of died. But when I watched it for last week, the first person they announced was some YouTuber that was 40 years old. And listen, it's tragic. He died in a car accident. It was some comic book YouTuber. And I'm looking at Legacy and I'm like, come on, like a fucking comic book YouTuber is the first person you bring up on who died this week. Like, how does that even make that? But I realize that in this day and age, TikTokers, YouTubers, people with, that many people following them, they are, a special group of people that, the world puts credence in. And when Logan Paul's got 50 million followers, that's power. And he knows he's got power. If it's not criminal and he's not arrested for it, unfortunately, people get away with shit. We talk about the Vince McMahon and the Donald Trump stuff this past Monday, and it goes to show you that you look at P. Diddy, for example. P. Diddy got busted on video beating up his ex-girlfriend how many years ago? And when I saw that video, all I kept thinking to myself was, how many other girls did he beat up that he ended up paying off that we'll never know about? How many people has he beat up since that incident that he's paid off that we'll never hear about? And that just goes to show you that people with money and power will get away with things. You don't just wake up one day and decide, I'm going to fuck up my girlfriend. So, unfortunately, Logan Paul, with that kind of influence, it's a big deal. And let me tell you something, when you are a supporter of a big-time social media influencer, If that person says, go out and buy Taco Bell, I just ate a burrito, it's fucking awesome, you will see tens of thousands of people film TikTok videos. Logan, look, I'm eating a burrito. That's the power. Logan Paul's got that power, man. As a wrestling fan, I appreciate that he does not insult wrestling where he's just doing, put it this way, he doesn't come off as a Raw guest host. Somebody asked me the best way I could describe Logan Paul. He doesn't come off as a Raw guest host that is just there to plug something and to just, when you have that kind of influence, Logan Paul probably could demand a little bit more than what he gets as far as position in WWE. I think he takes the wrestling very, very seriously. And I have to commend somebody like that. It's not easy to get in the ring. I did bullshit matches, because I couldn't do anything else. This guy is fucking tremendous when he has matches. You have to admit, even if you don't like him as a person, his matches have been solid. And you don't just like watch it on TV and play around in your pool and like, hey, I can do it. So I'm not a fan of the guy. I don't like the guy. The only time that I can honestly say I truly tuned into any of his podcast work is when he was talking to CM Punk or like Triple H or somebody else. And even that, I didn't sit through the whole thing. So I'm not a fan of his, but I will give props where needed. Dream 101. Oh, he also wanted to ask me my thoughts on Hulk Hogan saying he's going to run for president. Listen, I say this with respect intended. Anybody that is a media guy that actually put any credence in that is ridiculous. I, many moons ago, was going to launch a website, HulkHoganIsFullOfShit.com. We have podcasts from 15 years ago talking about the launch of that site, and we didn't do it because we were threatened we would be sued. It was going to be a website that exposed all of Hulk Hogan's lies. Gee, what wrestling manager that has the number one podcast in this world that's been having fun the last couple of years making fun of Hulk Hogan's lies? Kevin and I were going to launch that website 15 years ago, didn't because we were afraid of being sued. We don't have money for lawyers, so we didn't do it. When Hogan says stuff like that, it's just him talking like a fool. I'll put my hat in the game, brother, and I'll help this country, brother. You want to help this country, brother? Stay at your fucking store in Florida. He's not running for president. He ain't starting a campaign. I think people forgot that he was going to run for president back in, 1996? Was it 96 that he was going to run for president? Backlund was going to run for president in 2000. My God, I have in my office, Backlund 2000. I still got the autographed shirt. Wrestlers have said that in the past. That he ain't running for president. He's full of shit. He's just trying to stay relevant in 2024. He's trying to stay relevant. Listen, I grew up a Hulkamaniac. My grandmother, that was her favorite wrestler. So just for that fact, I still have a little spot for Hulk Hogan. But there's a lot of me that's like, man, fuck. Fuck that shit, man. Hulk Hogan is full of shit.com. He ain't running for president. And my condolences again to your dream and your dog. My condolences. All right. We're at the 2-hour mark. Let's finish up this show with a few more questions. Roderick Howard says he came across Nails' WWF debut on YouTube. What are my thoughts on it? And where would I rank his beatdown of the Big Boss Man as far as brutal segments and debuts go? I enjoyed Nails' debut. I used to get freaked out by his voice. The funny thing is, if you ever follow my history episodes that I still post this week in wrestling history, go on my website, DonTony.com, and type in the search box nails with a Z. There's an episode that I played where something happened. Maybe it was his debut. It might have been his debut as Nails in the WWF, or it might have been when he had to fight with Vince. But on that episode, I played a vignette twice. One time, it was him with the voice manipulator. And then the second time was the same promo without the voice manipulator. Back then, I don't know if we believed that his voice was fucked up. I think at some point, we all thought something was up, but then we learned, what it was. Good lip syncer. But once I heard his voice like a regular person, he sounded like a goof to me. I liked Nails. I thought it was a pretty cool character. I liked the jail outfit. He looked sick. He looked scary. He sounded scary, but I think I always thought to myself, it would have been interesting to see Nails as a big-time jobber in the mid-90s, late 90s in the WWF. We never got that. But I always thought to myself, man, it would have been really interesting to see Nails as a big-time jobber in the late 90s. Kevin Kelly, I think his name was. But I thought the beatdown was good. I enjoyed it. At the time, it was very impressive. I was a fan of the Big Boss Man. So he got right into the game, and it was cool because here's a convict beating up, a guy that works for the prison system. So it kind of like fit like a glove. So it was a good way to kick it off. I enjoyed it. Tristan wants to know my thoughts on the Mr. America characters. It was comedy. Everybody knew it was Hogan. It was just comedy. It was stupid, but it was stupid funny, especially when they did the lie detector segment with Vince. Listen, Hogan as Mr. America, it was a fun character. People started turning on Hogan when he was beating Triple H. As much as we didn't like Triple H at that time, he was beating people that it just didn't feel right when Undertaker got him. And one of my favorite moments about Hogan's second run was when Undertaker hogtied him in the back, and Undertaker rode around the back of the arena with the motorcycle, and Hogan had this goofy-looking helmet on, and as they kept turning the corners, we were literally begging that Hulk Hogan's head just boom into the side of a wall. It was just one of the funniest things that I ever saw. I thought the Mr. America stuff was fun. It was lighthearted comedy, and it was also not too far off, from the 80s. You're only talking about 20, not even like 15 years removed. So it was good. Eric Williams, did I see Paul Heyman will be at the big event this year? Yes, I did. And I am definitely considering going. We haven't had a chance to talk to everybody yet, but we're talking about maybe having a get together. So it's still very, very early. There's a lot of things going on right now, but that's good. I mean, Paul Heyman, I definitely would love to shake his hand again. He's my favorite. Always pay homage to ECW on the shows. And shit, he'll make so much coin from that. I'm telling you, Paul Heyman would probably have the biggest line. Listen, he was so over in Philly with WrestleMania 40. And even at that time, Paul Heyman wasn't very much accessible, especially with the Roman Reigns stuff. Big event, yeah, those tickets will sell out. Probably cost like $200. I'll make a prediction that you'll probably have to pay $150 or $200 to meet Paul. I'll make that prediction because I remember when Undertaker was there, like 4 or 5 years ago. I think Undertaker, it was $200. And now that doesn't seem that bad, but I remember at that time, like, I'm not paying $200 to see Undertaker. But there were a decent number of people that did. Cappy the Great, do I think that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn win the tag titles after Alba dedicated the match to her mom after she passed? You know, look, I don't have much of a problem when somebody lived or lives thousands of miles away in a different country and they get to go home to perform in their home country in front of the biggest wrestling company in the world. I'm happy for Alba Fire. I'm happy for Isla Dawn. I'm happy for Piper Niven. But I don't put belts simply because they're performing in front of the friends and family. I remember people insisting that Zelina Vega pin Rhea Ripley so she could have that moment in Puerto Rico. I'm like, are you fucking nuts? As much as I like Zelina Vega, as much as I was so happy that she got what she got in Puerto Rico, you do not screw up Rhea Ripley, not even for 2 days, just so there could be a moment. I say the same thing. You do not screw up Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, even if Isla Dawn and Alba Fire were to pin Zoe Stark or Shayna Baszler, and then Bianca and Jade could say, we didn't even get pinned and we lost our titles. I don't even think that should happen. Listen, the fact that they're able to perform in Scotland on a WWE Premium Live event for women's tag team titles, that is more than enough of a special moment for her mom. And I mean that sincerely. I do not put belts on them, because you're dedicating it to a family member who passed. Like, just imagine creative. Just imagine Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and everyone else. We're on big momentum with Bianca and Jade. We should have them keep the titles until the Rumble, and never falling out. And it'll be a WrestleMania match. Yeah, but boss, Alba Fire, her mom died and she's dedicated her to her mom. Fuck. Shit. We got to take care of Mama Fire. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk here, but no, you don't change it because of that. You just don't. I'm just being honest. You don't change the course no. I'm glad that they're dedicating it. Alba Fire is dedicated to her mom. Let me tell you something. Her mom should be very, very proud, and I'm sure is very, very proud of Alba Fire. This is sports entertainment. Whether Alba Fire leaves that match with a belt around her waist or without a belt around her waist, she competed in Scotland at a premium live event for the biggest entertainment company in the world that she always strived to do. She made it, and her mom would be nothing but proud. That's it. If you start giving belts to people, listen, I know someone right now is going to say, look at that Cody and Dusty. Well, Cody is the number one figurehead in the WWE. That is this. He replaced John Cena and this and that. Like, he is that guy, the role model and everything else. You're not putting Alba Fire or someone else in that position. It's different. All right, let's do 3 more questions and let's jet for tonight. Great combo for tonight. Great combo. Fun show. We haven't talked much AEW tonight. Benjamin, how ridiculous does Tony Khan look saying MJF is back in AEW permanently? Look, I like making fun of Tony Khan also, but did you notice last week how everybody that mattered ripped him apart for the I booked for the sickos comment? And I don't want to start controversy. I'm not going to name drop any podcasts out there, anybody that's a Hall of Famer, hint, hint. I just want you to be aware that their viewers let them know before they even did their shows that it was a Tommy Boy reference. And I could count at least 4 big-time wrestling podcasts that were Hall of Famers that totally ignored the Tommy Boy reference and just decided, let's go after Tony Khan. As much as I like criticizing Tony Khan, that is bullshit. He was just taking a line from Tommy Boy. As much as I want to criticize him, he was taking a line from Tommy Boy as a reference. You know, listen, it's if Tony Khan was talking smack, or a wrestler was talking smack to Tony Khan online, and Tony Khan would go get your fucking shine box. You know, it's a bad example, but you know where I'm going with that. I don't have any issue with Tony Khan saying that MJF is back permanently. You know, MJF is there for the foreseeable future. That's it. I mean, this was always the plan. You want MJF to be the focal point. I'm a little concerned as far as what his schedule is going to look like a couple of months from now, but I still think in the end it's going to lead to clashing with the Elite. This is all leading to him and the Elite. Remember the Devil Advocate thumbnail that I made about a month and a half ago? It's going to come to that. But no, I mean, he's the number one guy for that company. You know, look, it's like if WWE said, you know, Finn Balor's here permanently, or Seth Rollins is here permanently, or, you know, yeah, they re-signed and they're staying. It doesn't mean they're going to be there till the day they die. So no, I don't have any issue with that. That's just giving reassurance to AEW supporters that MJF is going to be here for the long haul. And as I said last year, and Kev said it as well, MJF, it is not the right time to bring him to the WWE. It is not the right time. There's too many other people that have big storylines brewing, characters being developed, you know, people who they invested in NXT that they have promoted. You got Bloodline, Roman returning and other stuff. And you have people who, you know, may not be wrestling 3 to 5 years from now. And you're not going to have MJF leapfrog them all, or even a bunch of them, simply because he became available. You do not do that. You're not going to sacrifice certain people who are a very important asset for the company right now because MJF, you know, became available. 3 to 5 years from now, different story. But right now, you know, listen, that mentality is the Tony Khan mentality. That, oh, I got to have that toy. But you don't need that toy. You already got 10. I got to have that toy. MJF is a special toy, obviously, but that might be the Holy Grail toy right now. But you can't just simply sign people simply because, oh, they're available, I got to have them. MJF will not spend the rest of his career in AEW. I do not see that. Anything is possible, obviously. You know, look, if Tony Khan stays a billionaire and always is a wrestling fan to the day he dies, and AEW sticks around for 10, 20 years, if he is a billionaire and it's not a publicly traded company and TV is secure and he still has his billions, even if AEW is losing some money, which they are, if he wants to keep overpaying MJF until MJF is 50, you know, if I'm MJF, yeah, man. You know, I mean, for some people, it's not always about the money in some way, but you never see anybody working, you know, shows for nothing. Oh, boss, you've taken care of me the last 5 years. This one's on me. Don't worry about it. We'll talk in a couple of months. I got plenty. You've done so much for me. I got to do something for you. Fuck that. You will hear MJF get a agent. If MJF does not have an agent yet, which would be surprising, MJF, you will hear, signs with an agency within the next couple of years, if it hasn't happened already. He will have an agent. I don't know if it'll be Scott Boras, if that's the guy I think a lot of people use, but he will have one. Rams fan is asking, who would I have represent Team AEW in Blood and Guts versus the Elite? I would probably still go with Adam Cole, MJF, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and whoever else. I still think, and if put it this way, they don't do faction versus faction, then I would do Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay, MJF, and Adam Cole and maybe somebody else. I know people are going to say, well, MJF and Adam Cole are feuding right now. I know, but they're both devils. And at the end of the day, hey, we were just being devils. Hey, you would have done it. You did exactly what I would have done. That's coming. Sooner or later, you're going to hear MJF and Adam Cole cut a promo on each other like, hey, I did what you would have done. Don't get mad at me. You know what? I deserve getting kicked in the nuts. You did what I would have done. That's probably where they'll go with it. I'm tired of the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm tired of seeing Moxley in that. Bryan Danielson, listen, 5 years from now, if Bryan Danielson is no longer wrestling, we're going to miss him dearly. But as of right now, if Bryan Danielson were to leave to have more birdies and take like 6 months off, I'm perfectly fine with it. So, Roderick says he sees Swerve leading the team. The problem is Swerve is not leading the team right now, and that's AEW's choice. I'm telling you, that first Dynamite after he won the world title, they made Moxley's Japanese championship feel more important than Swerve's. I don't think Swerve will be leading that team. I just don't see it. I don't feel it. I just feel it's probably going to be something like a Will Ospreay or an MJF. It's going to be someone who is more of the poster child of, Tony, what fancies Tony Khan. Whether you like it or, and it's not a black or a white thing, but whether you like it or not, you could kind of feel the vibe of who fancies Tony Khan. The Claudio Castagnolis, the John Moxleys, the Bryan Danielsons, the Will Ospreays, the Okadas, maybe not even the Young Bucks to an extent, but there's some that he totally fancied that would love to have in that company. I don't think Swerve was ever one of them. I think Swerve forced his self in that spot, earned it, worked his ass off, and AEW had to acknowledge it and reward it. But I don't think Tony Khan, thinks at night, like Swerve, my guy. I just don't think he was, some people are a Paul Heyman guy. I don't see Swerve as a Tony Khan guy. There's other people I feel in that role, but not him. Like Orange Cassidy, Tony Khan guy. Darby Allin, Tony Khan guy. John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Tony Khan guy. Fucking Chuck Taylor, Tony Khan guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people you could feel. All right, 2 more, and we're going to call it. Suddenly it was all AEW. Then that's fine. We could have some real AEW talk here. I don't mind. Let's see. Brock Lesnar versus Wardlow. I think it would suck. Well, I'm shocked. Wardlow is trademarking his name. What took him so long? Listen, I'm not trying to compare it to me, but let's bring it up just for example. I trademarked ECW in 2005. Go look it up. I trademarked it in 05 or 06. I don't remember which year it was, but I trademarked it. I own the trademark for ECW. It was not hard. I did it myself. I paid, I think, $500 at the time, but I did it myself. How does Wardlow wrestle on TV for that many years? Now he's trading his name. I should have trademarked his fucking name. I should have trademarked his name and named my dog after him. My dog owns Wardlow. You have to change your name, motherfucker. Call yourself something else. I own it now. Why did it take him so long? I'm a little surprised at that. But no, I don't want to see Brock Lesnar versus Wardlow. Theme Parks with Johnny likes that Jeff Hardy showed up tonight with the Hardy's theme. Yeah, that theme music is not owned by a wrestling company. That is production music. So, but it's a theme that, AEW could use, WWE could use, TNA could use. Shit, there's some commercials still that use it. I don't remember what commercials they are, but I know I've heard that song played at least once or twice in the last couple of years on a commercial. Some baseball stadiums play it, but every time I hear that song, I think of Jeff Hardy's dance. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. By the way, when do we start calling Daniel Garcia and, Alex Wright 2.0? Is it just me, or does anybody else get Alex Wright vibes whenever I see Daniel Garcia doing his thing? Because that's all Alex Wright used to do. Alex Wright used to go like this. That's all he would do. I mean, I know everybody watches the Nitro Girls clip and the Nitro Girls are dancing and everything, and then Alex Wright just like smooths himself in and he's going like this. Daniel Garcia is like Alex Wright. Who gets the last question for tonight? I used to like Steve Blackman's theme because I was into club music. His theme sounded like that dance song, Turn It Up, Turn It Up, Turn It Up. By the way, we were joking on Patreon about lyrics. And we were talking about like Pitbull and others. Like, have you ever like looked close at the lyrics of some of their songs? And it's like a fifth grader that's like mentally disabled could have come up with better lyrics. I mean, you could actually like write it in like 10 minutes. I was looking at like, who's the other, like Flow Ride or whatever? Like that song, I Want You. And it's like, I know I want you. I know you want me. I know I want you. I know you want me. I know I want you. I know you want me. I know I want you. I know you want me. Half the song is literally just that one sentence. People that get away with shit like that, I fucking love it. Just like, I just imagine them, and I imagine them, it's like you picture they're on the Tony Khan stuff and they're in the production like, dude, what do we come up with? You know what? I saw this girl the other day and I was looking and I was like, I know you want me. And, I wanted her too. And then we were like kind of looking at each other. It's like, yeah, she probably did want you. I know you wanted her. And like, hey, we can make a song out of that. That's why I don't like music of today. So, all right. I think we could call it. All right, everybody. Have a good one. We're almost at 2.5 hours. Shit. It's past midnight. So if anybody got in a late entry, good for you. So I'm going to get this episode online, and then I'm going to put the entries up on Patreon. And for our channel members, good luck to everybody who enters. I should be able to announce the winners on Monday's DTKC show. It's not a hard premium live event to predict. I think it probably will come down to the tiebreaker match. So should be able to go through the entries pretty quickly. We'll announce both winners on the DTKC show like we did for, I think we do Backlash last time, or King and Queen of the Ring. Whichever one we did last time, I think it was Backlash. We announced it on the DTKC show. And we'll do that Monday as well. So if you enjoyed this show, you know what to do. I want to thank everybody who joined me live. Shout out to everybody who checks it out on the archive. Keep spreading the word that the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show is back. People want to see us grow and have some additional content, and that's going to be up to everybody tuning in. keep spreading the word. Let everybody know that we're back doing shows together, and keep downloading the episodes. This way we show up in those ratings and stats, and that shows us how well we're doing. But not only that, it allows us to be seen by not only a lot of people who never knew that we are back together, but there's a lot of people out there that even now say, holy shit, never heard of your show before. And Kevin and I are now, not consecutively, but we're now in our 20th year doing this together. And I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to finally start working on that 20th anniversary show shirt. It's something that we want to do. I don't, few people have asked me, what is the exact date that we started doing shows together? And I can't pinpoint it because Kev came on as a guest a few times in 2004. But I have a few episodes from 2004, and Kev is on them all. And the earliest one that I could find, I think, was in August. So, I'm assuming the summer of 2004 is when he first came aboard. But as far as like a regular, that was more 2005. But, we're going to launch that shirt in the summertime. And, if it's received well, then we'll come up with more. But, guys, I hope you enjoy your weekend. If you check out Clash at the Castle, enjoy it as well. If you check out the replay from Against All Odds, by all means, do so. I'm going to watch some clips online, and if it looks solid, and, say what you want about TNA with the ratings being pretty horrible right now, you have to admit, whenever we see their pay-per-views or the highlights online, it's good shit. I mean, you don't rarely ever hear anybody complaining about match quality. So I'll probably check out most of it. I want to see, Jeff Hardy's, appearance in TNA. I mean, we know what Jeff Hardy looks like. It's not like he hasn't been on wrestling in a couple of years. I mean, he's been around. But I want to see how he came in, how he looks, how the fans, accepted him. And then we'll see how TNA is going to use him. Although I do not believe that Matt Hardy will be in the Battle Royal for NXT, I have a feeling it's going to be some names that are not high in the food chain, because I don't know who's actually going to come out on top to face Trick Williams for the belt. And I really would be surprised if it's an NXT name. You don't want to start to get into the habit of NXT champions, facing TNA wrestlers and defeating them. I mean, that's fine. Jordan Grace, a little distraction. Dana Brooke, Tatum Paxley, but you don't want to get into that habit of having TNA stars repeatedly losing to NXT stars. I don't think that helps anybody. So, yes, before anybody says it, I know Jordan Grace beat Tatum Paxley. I'm talking about NXT television. No. So, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll catch you all again Monday for the Dann, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. And I don't think anybody will complain if I show you that little thumbnail preview one more time. Kevin and I will be talking about the true forbidden door of pro wrestling. No, it is not AEW versus CMLL or New Japan. It is Liv Morgan's ass. Hey, before anybody gets really offended by that, she's the one that likes to pose. She likes the one that shows off her ass. Shit, there's a video of her doing ass training with Sheamus. So we are having some lighthearted humor. But I will tell you, it was fucking hard to find that photo of Dominic Mysterio. I needed to find the perfect photo where it looked like he was looking down, staring at the forbidden door. And it just came together perfectly. So make sure you join us Monday, 11:15 p.m. Guys, I'm out of here.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright, he's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. Doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.